is Marvin Devine, Huber, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Whip game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing. Like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, wanna get in my crew, but you can't get in my crew. Me, XL, and Hugo, way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah, I got the juice. Yeah, I got the juice. Big game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing.
What's going on, ladies and gents, Locked In Nation? What is going on? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 252. Welcome back in the building. My brother Rob on the other side, the man with the plan. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Oh, I can't hear you, brother. Yeah, I shook your sound. That happens to me sometimes too. To be honest.
You guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect, man.
Awesome. Let me repeat what I said. What's up, Locked In Nation? Thanks for having me again. What's up, Steve? Good to see you again. Best host in the nation right now. What's up?
Yeah, man. Best realtor in the nation on the other side, man. Yeah, man. I love these types of episodes. I wanted to share with everyone first. My brother Ray and his wife. Ray's a pretty deadline-driven guy. You know, I know he's always like on time and stuff. I haven't heard much from him the last couple of days, so I'm not sure if they're going through something right now. Hopefully, them and their family, everybody's okay. We'll probably just reschedule. I'll reschedule an episode with them separately on this one. So it's just going to be me and Rob, most likely tonight. I did send him the link, but I don't anticipate that Ray and his wife Ariel, who are both realtors in the Florida area, they're based out of Orlando, Florida. Used to originally live here in Philadelphia, became realtors down there in Florida. Got a little business going on. I don't anticipate that they're coming on tonight, so it's probably just going to be me and Rob. So Rob, I do want to thank you for taking the time to come on here. Give the audience some good advice, man. When it comes to, buying a home, who better to talk to than someone who's a realtor, They know all the information when it comes to that stuff. So appreciate you, man. So yeah, that's just basically what the topic is tonight.
For sure. We've helped hundreds of people buy homes, so
absolutely.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, I hear you. I think you're a little delayed, but yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you perfect. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically me
Yeah,
and Rob,
I hear you.
okay, cool. Yeah, me and Rob, we did an episode in the past, and it was an episode on what you need to know when you're securing your first investment property. So I thought it would be a good idea for people to kind of understand when it comes to, purchasing your first actual like residential home, for your family or for yourself, as a single person. If you're trying to transition from renting to buying, all the things that you kind of need to know that comes with that. And Rob, he's a realtor based in PA. He's also an investor as well. There's a lot of great information. I know a lot of like the basic stuff, but Rob is a realtor. He can definitely give you some more in-depth stuff than I can potentially give you, because everything that I have is not from actually working in the industry. It's just research and just understanding like the basics. So excited to jump into this. So excited to jump into this tonight, guys. Yeah, I'll just say like the basic stuff that we always say here. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed to the channel, you just stumbled upon us and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell in the corner too to turn those notifications on, especially if you like content related to personal growth, personal development. We talk about that weekly here. So if you like that type of content, hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the like button. Really, really helps us out with the algorithm, helps push this content out to people who are looking to see it. Facebook, same thing. I'm assuming you're already part of the community if you're watching from the Facebook group, so thank you. But still hit the like button. Really, really helps us out. Comment down below tonight, guys. Add to the discussion. I see we got some viewers in here now, so add to the discussion. If you're on YouTube, I can put your comments on the screen. Facebook, due to meta privacy concerns, I can read your comments out loud. Just can't throw them up on the screen. All right, guys. I'm going to jump right into it. So, Rob, I guess I would ask, what are I guess we could start with the basics. I know some of the basics, but I'll just ask you, what are some of the basic things if somebody thinks that they're ready to purchase their first home, but they don't really know yet? What are some basic parameters, I guess, that an individual should look at before they, go on to purchase their first home?
Yeah. So I guess some basic parameters you should look at. I think first things first is to think of what payment you'll be comfortable with. So let's say you're renting an apartment right now at $2,000 a month. So now you want to switch and buy a house. So it's really kind of the same thing when you're paying monthly. So if you're paying $2,000 for rent and then you want to buy a house, you gotta look at your income and see what payment are you comfortable with. So when a lender assesses you in terms of how much you can pay, they have a metric that they use to cap you at the amount that you can pay. So usually lenders look about around 45 to 47% of your gross income, but you get to choose within that boundaries like what payment you'd be comfortable with. So first thing success, I would say what are you comfortable with? What would you be comfortable with paying every month? So if you make $4,000 a month, and then your mortgage is $2,000 a month, that would be 50% of your income. So you got to think of what you'd be comfortable with when it comes to transitioning to a mortgage. That's the first thing first. Next thing, you got to assess your financials. That's key. You got to look at what your credit score is. That's the first thing they look at. Then you got to have some money saved for your down payment. So I would say those two things are key. Know what payment you're comfortable with, your credit score, your financial statement, your financial situation as of right now, which is your credit score, how much money you have saved, and how much money you make per month. So I would say those are the really crucial factors when it comes to assessing to buy your first house.
Some great points there, man. Some great points. Yeah, 100%. Because I think a lot of things you see is whenever I see a mortgage payment or a monthly payment, a lot of people will tell you shouldn't be more than 28%, but everybody's financial situation is different. So what you're comfortable with and what you can afford, absolutely, I think doing the back end work, really understanding your financials is the most critical part before you even enter that process of trying to purchase your first home. And it's like Rob said, you want money saved up, for your down payment. closing costs. And we'll get into it. I know that there's grants as well, especially Philadelphia, New Jersey areas. There's a lot of first-time home buyer grants. I'm sure Rob can, expand on that for sure, being in that space. But yeah, for sure. And I think also, obviously you want to have a nest egg outside of your down payment and your closing costs as well, because, things in a home is different. We've talked on the podcast before, is different than renting. You're renting, yes, you're paying a monthly payment. So it's similar in that regard, but you're also going to be responsible for things if they go in the home versus when you're renting. That's one of the big pros to renting, is that you're not typically responsible for any of like the repairs that have to be done to the property.
Right. And we say save more than usual, because when you save money for your down payment, that's good. You have money saved for your down payment, but you don't want to use all your money that you have saved to purchase the home, and then when it's time to move, you got no money.
Right.
I always tell my clients that to have a little bit more than what you need to close, because you got to move, you want to buy furniture, right? I usually recommend a home warranty to buy, like for your house when you just move in. There's little expenses that come up when you just move into a house, and so you definitely want to have some money saved up. And lenders like to see that you have some reserves left after you close on the house. Like, so if your cash to close is $10,000, they want to see that you have at least 12. So when you spend the 10, you have 2 left, in your reserves, because they don't want to see that you spent all your money to buy a house. So you definitely have your down payment saved plus a little bit more on top of it.
Yep. Yeah, and it makes sense too, because a lender is lending you money and you're paying interest on it. So essentially they're making money off it. But if you're sinking all of your money into your down payment and your closing costs, it puts that at high risk for you to be able to pay on that mortgage. And it puts you more at risk that if something does pop up, you might fall into foreclosure. So it makes sense that, obviously they would be hesitant. They're going to look at that. It makes sense. For sure. Another thing I think that they'll look at too is your work history too. I believe, is it up to like 2 years? It's just from what I've seen in research, it's typically like 2 years of work history that they want to see.
Yeah. They like to see, like, if you have a W-2 job, like to see 2 years of work history. If you did switch jobs, a lot of them, if you're in the same industry, they're okay with that. But if you went from nursing to construction, within a year, they don't know if you stay. What they want, at least 2 years of tax returns. And if you do switch, if you're in the same industry, they'll give you a year. So those are the things that they look at when it comes to your job history. That's also very true. They want to know that you have stable income coming in. Like I said earlier, they look at your income, your credit score, and your savings. So those are the three crucial factors.
Yep. For sure. Is there a minimum credit score when it goes to like ideally buying a home? From what I've looked at, I've seen like a 620 or 630 or higher is what'll qualify you. I'm not sure if there's like outliers to that for people that are under that, or maybe it's higher. I figured you would probably know, but
yeah. So it depends on the lender and the program. FHA usually requires a minimum 620. But some lenders go down to 580, 550. I met a lender that did 550. Obviously, your interest rate is going to be a lot higher, and your profile is going to be a lot more riskier, and you have to lower your score. So if your score is that low, I don't recommend getting a house. I recommend taking time, get your score up, so you'll get a better rate, and then your file will be a lot easier to go through underwriting, and you'll get a better rate, and you'll save money over time. Over the life of the loan, you can, if you actually do the numbers, you'll see how much money you save from having like a 660 versus a 580, because the rate can drastically increase between the two numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, I would recommend the same. It's like everybody's situation is different. Sometimes people need it's urgent, but at the same time, like, you could really lose out on a lot of money if that interest just based off a few percentage interest rate. I mean, you figure most loans are fixed rate over 30 years. Some people do 15-year fixed rate, but the majority of people are doing a 30-year fixed rate. And you leave a lot of money on the table over those 30 years just based off a couple percentage points.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah,
So
and remember the loan is over 30 years. So if you buy a house for, let's say, 300,000, and then if you look at the interest amortized over 30 years, and you compare the two scores, so let's say they give you a 6% versus a 5%, the difference is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So
yeah,
if you really look at the number, I mean, a lot of people don't really look into it. They don't care. Like, I don't care about 30 years from now. But if you really look at the numbers, like the difference in the points when it comes to the amount of interest you pay over 30 years is it can significantly affect you.
yeah. I think most people, we don't, a lot of people like to look at the day to day. They don't like to look at the future and stuff. When you think about it, if that's a couple $100,000, that's money that you could have invested into another account and made a ton of money on, or even purchased something that you really wanted to. That's money you kind of you literally gave away because it's not, you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely important. And also another thing, I think, your debts too get factored in to what you can afford too. So if you go to purchase a home, and by debts I mean like loans. So if you have a student loan, if you have a car note, I think credit card debt gets factored into that too. So any debts that you have will get factored into what you're able to afford when going to purchase a home. Am I right there?
Yes. That's what they call DTI.
Yeah.
Debt to income ratio. So every lender has a DTI metric that they use in order to approve you for a loan. So if you let's say you make 10,000 a month, and your car payment is 5,000, your credit card is 2,000. So now your debt is 7,000 a month, and you make 10,000. So now you have a 7 to 10 ratio. So 70% of your income is going to debt.
Yeah.
So that's something that they look into as well. So it's not just your income, it's your debts that come out that's due monthly, and they look at the minimum to satisfy that every month, and they factor that into your DTI, your debt to income ratio.
Yep. Yeah. So if you want to be able to purchase more, and you got a crazy ratio like that, you ideally want to pay down some of that debt. Pay down some of that debt. I mean, I would say you can make more money too, but obviously, like a ton of debt isn't a good thing either. So try to pay down some of that debt, especially the credit card debt, because the credit card debt is going to eat away at you with the interest rates, for sure. And $5,000 car note, I hope not. And I don't think I've ever seen that high, but
yeah, this is an example. But yeah, that's very important. The DTI. Actually, I had a client. So they had her at a certain DTI that she can't go over, and based on her current, debts and income, she was approved. But then during the process, which I'm giving you guys a tip right now, and you're in the process of getting a mortgage, do not make any financial decisions, big financial decisions. Don't buy a car, don't get a loan, don't open a credit card, don't do nothing, because that's going to change your DTI, your debt to income ratio, and the lenders are looking to keep you under a certain ratio. And then my client, while she was in the process, didn't tell anybody and bought a car. So they found out literally a couple of days before her closing on the house, and they were about to deny her the loan unless she paid off the car. So she bought a car, and then that shot up her debt to income ratio. And unless she paid off the car, she was going to get denied the loan. So I'm giving you all a tip. Do not, when you're in the process, do not make any moves, any big financial moves. Stay as clean as possible. The lenders are like the FBI. They will be digging into your life because they're loaning you $500,000, $400,000 to buy this house. So they're going to verify that, that you can make the payment and that you're financially stable enough to make the payment. So they will be digging into your life. So do not make any moves. Thankfully, regrettably, she paid off the car because she had money saved. So she paid off the car because either she was going to have to pay off the car or lose the house. So she wanted the house, so she paid off the car. We had to close it. But it was a painful lesson for her that I had to remind her of. So,
yeah, it's money she
could
have
warn her not to make any moves, and she went behind her backs and made them. But she's okay. She's doing fine.
It's good that you were there to like at least advise her, man. You know what I mean? That's something I learned a few years ago. I was listening to some podcast on real estate, and I never really thought about that, but I was like, it makes sense. You know what I mean? It puts you like it's kind of like risky, like suspicious. They'd be like, oh, you're making these types of moves when you're like in escrow or whatever is going on at the time. You know what I mean? It's like you can't do that because they're going to see that as a red flag. So wait until you close. Wait until you close and the property is yours, and then you can. Hey, if you could comfortably afford, a new car, something like that, boom. Like,
Yeah,
but just wait.
yeah,
Be patient.
yeah. I always say to my clients to after you close, you can do whatever you want, but when
Yep.
you're in the process, be very clean. Don't make
Yep.
any moves. So,
Exactly. And it makes, like I said, all this stuff makes sense because it's somebody it's an institution that's lending you money. So it's like they want to make sure that you are going to be credible to pay that money back. That's why if your credit score is low, what it shows is it shows your responsibility. Now, anything could have happened to you in that process. You could have fell in some type of tough time. But what it ultimately shows is, for whatever reason, whatever caused your score to be where it's at, they need to see you build. You need to build that score back up because it shows responsibility, right? Like they're not going to want to risk lending you money if your credit's in the 400s because it's going to look horrible. I actually had a friend that was talking about that. He's getting married soon, but his credit score is really bad. It's like in the 4s, and he's talking about like wanting to buy a house. I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't think you're gonna be able to find it. And number one, it's gonna be horrible investment for you to buy a home. Even if you were able to get approved at that rate is gonna be ridiculous. And then so like it's gonna be horrible. And then on top of it, I can't imagine any lender that's gonna give you a loan with a 400 and something credit score. It's gonna be hard.
I mean, but you gotta remember this to everybody in the audience. The credit score is just a snapshot. Mm-hmm. So 1 year you got a horrible score, then you get your stuff together, and now you have a great score, and all the lenders want to lend you. So it's just a snapshot in time. You're not doomed forever. There have been times when my score was terrible because I'm loaded from investments, but then there have been times my score is amazing. So it's just a snapshot. In point of time. So don't get too down on yourself if your score is down. Just work on bringing it back up. Yeah.
And the majority of the time you can do it on your own. You don't need a professional. Now, if you have like things in collections and stuff, it may pay to hire somebody that can like contact like agencies to get your stuff out of collections or whatever and work with somebody. But the majority of the time I feel like you can kind of bring your score up on your own. And like Rob said, it's just a snapshot in time of what your score looks like there. It's not the end all be all. It doesn't mean your credit can't change. It can change. It absolutely can. I've heard crazy stories where credits were in the low 4s and got up to 8s. You know what I mean? So it absolutely can change.
Yeah. Same thing when you get in the mortgage. The mortgage company, they're looking at your financial situation as a snapshot in time. So if you're making great money now's the time to, if you want to get a house, to apply for a mortgage loan. But let's say you're going to retire in 2 years and your income is going to drop. They don't care that 2 years ago you were making 6 figures. They want to know how much money you're making now.
Right.
Snapshot in time.
Yep. And what you can afford to, you could have, say you make, this is a good part too. Like, and a lot of people I know that are purchasing homes, a lot of them are like dual income households, but people who are single purchase homes too. But if you say you make like $50K a year, and you're the only income, that's your only income, but you have $150,000 saved. Yeah, it's nice that you have that saved, but what you can afford is going to be based off of how much you make. It's like you could have $150,000 in the bank, but if you make $50K and that's your only source of income, what you can afford is going to be directly linked to what you have coming in. So in that type of situation, say you have no debt, you're making $50K, and you have a bigger house, you have to make more income. Like that's ultimately what it comes down to. And that's a great nest egg. If you have $150K liquid, saved up, like it's great. But that's something that I think some people don't know. Like they might be like, oh, I have all this money saved to go buy a home. Well, unless you're buying the house outright, completely outright, no financing, anything like that, it's going to be linked to what you're bringing in monthly.
Right. Yeah. So they look at, like I said, your income. Even though you can use that big savings as a down payment to lower the mortgage amount. So then now your $50,000 would be sufficient enough. But if you only use a little bit of your big savings, they primarily going to look at, can your income support this mortgage? But they look at your gross income. So before taxes, that's the good part. Because everybody's taxes is different. So they look at your gross income.
That's
and
big.
They say, yeah, can your gross income support this mortgage? And they cap you at a certain amount. They don't want their mortgage to be 60% of your income. They don't like that. That's risky for them. They rather have it closer to 40, 45.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When it comes to our home, because I know people that have rent that's like 65% of their income, and it's like, it's crazy. It's like they're barely getting by because of it. Or like with a car note, there's no real cap on like car notes. You could literally spend all your money. Like the dealerships ain't going to cap you majority of the time on a car note. But with a mortgage, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to pay it over a long period of time. Where car notes, I've seen crazy car notes too, like 8 or 9 years, which is crazy. But a car note's not going to be 30 years. Yeah, home's a big investment. It's the biggest purchase you're ever going to make.
Yeah, it's most people's biggest purchase that they make. So, but I always say you got to live somewhere. Either you're renting or you owning. So either or.
Exactly. It's what works for you in the moment. So every season of life is different. So you're in different financial situations at different seasons. You just have to figure out what ultimately works for you. That's even in the promo I was saying that it's mainly if you work, like a lot of people I think become very overwhelmed with the home buying process. But if you can get your finances in order and understand your budget, and then be able to kind of really understand exactly what you're looking for, and then be able to work with a realtor. It's not like a realtor. That's what a realtor is there for too, is to help guide you through the process, to make that process as smooth for you as possible, and to answer all your questions. And you never really know until you work with someone. I think a lot of people are afraid sometimes to take the step. Some people that are actually potentially ready to buy a home, they might not even take the step because they don't think they are. And then there's other people that may be so confident that they're ready to buy a home that might not actually be ready to buy a home. But once you work with a realtor and you sit down, you crunch the numbers, you can kind of understand that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, the beauty of working with a realtor, their experience, all they do is work with contracts, negotiating. They work in real estate. They understand all the rules. They understand everything about the real estate cycle. So, and they also, when you have a buyer's agent, the cost is minimum to the buyer, because the beauty is the seller pays majority of the buyer agent's fees. Every agent's fees is different, but the majority of the agent's commission is coming from the seller. So as a buyer, it's really a win-win for you. Like, you don't have to pay much to have an expert agent representing you and negotiating on your behalf throughout the whole transaction.
That's a key thing to note too, man. I don't know if a lot of people know that. So guys, if you're listening to that, put a star next to that, because that's so important to know that. I think a lot of people think it's going to be super expensive, to work with agent, but they don't really understand that the majority of the times the commission does come from the seller side. So understand that, and a realtor is going to be able to get you information too that you might not be able to get on your own. They, like Rob said, they work with contract, they work with this stuff regularly. So they're there to help you. They're there to help.
Right, they're going to be representing your interest throughout the whole process. As long as you got a good agent that you feel like is representing you and your interest and is fighting for you, you're in good hands. A lot of agents sometimes just work for, they're just trying to get a commission. They don't really care. But just make sure you find an agent that's, cares about your interests, puts you first, represents your interests throughout the whole deal, and, does their fiduciary responsibility for you in the transaction.
Exactly. That's a great point. I wanted to get into some of the other stuff too, because I don't know if a lot of people might not have like awareness of some of the grants too. So there's a lot of grants out there that I've seen, like in New Jersey and Philadelphia areas, for first-time home buyers out there, man. Are you like do you have information like off the top of your head off of like some of them that people might be able to access? I know you have to qualify probably with certain parameters to qualify for some of them, but
Yeah, there's a few out there. Few, at least for PA, I'm licensed in PA, so I don't even know much about PA. But the one that come off the top of my head is Philly First.
Okay.
That's for your first time home buyers that are buying in the city of Philadelphia. They give you up to $10,000 towards your down payment and closing costs. They do have an income cap based on your family size, your household size. So they have an income cap for a family of 3, 4, 5. But Philly First, he gives you up to $10,000 if you buy a home in Philadelphia. We also got the First Front Door program. We have the K-Fit program, First Front Door. If you're a first generation home buyer, none of your prior parents own a home, have owned a home before, they give you a grant for that as well. I think that's up to 15,000, either 10 or up to 15,000. I'm gonna verify that. And then there's a K-Fit as well. There's many programs for first time home. Just whatever agent you work with, they'll have a list.
Yeah.
They have a partner lender that accepts those programs, but most of the lenders do.
That's good to know. Yeah, I saw First Front Door and the Philly First one for sure when I was looking through. That's great to know. Hey, $10,000 is $10,000, man. That's money that you don't have to, put out of your pocket. And same thing with the First Front Door. It's money that you don't have to bring out of your pocket. Jersey, there was only I didn't do a ton of research on it. One that I had seen for Jersey, if you are looking in Jersey, and this is just based off my research, it was New Jersey First Generation. So what it is it says residents can receive up to between 17 to 22,000 in total assistance through their down payment assistance program. Jersey, obviously, are notorious for the higher property taxes, but then a lot of people say that. But the thing about Jersey is too, it also really depends on the district that you're in too. The township. I was looking with someone like Jersey because I've looked in Jersey too, and you could be in one township and the next township over, your property taxes could be completely different. A lot of the things that factor into these things are you could test the school districts. School districts are one of them. It really, there's a lot of different things that factor in. Like if you look in Cherry Hill, your property taxes are going to be very high. If you're looking somewhere, maybe, I don't know, Millville or somewhere else, your property taxes are going to be, a lot lower. And it also depends on the parts of those townships too, because I've noticed if I'm looking at a home on one side of the township and another side, it really, a lot of different things factor in. So, you have to really just do your research. Like I said, work with a realtor. Philadelphia, too. Obviously there's certain sections of Philadelphia that aren't so bad. Philadelphia gets a bad rap, but there's certain sections that aren't horrible in Philadelphia. I know a popular part of the Northeast. It's a lot of people are buying homes is on Parkwood. It's actually right near the borderline of Salem. So I know a lot of people that are purchasing in Parkwood, which is a little bit more quiet. Like you were saying, down towards the city, Fairmount, some areas like that, not so bad. You know what I mean? In terms of things like that. But yeah, it all depends. And what works for you is not going to work for, somebody else all the time too. Don't let other people, that's the thing too. You have to know what works for you and what you want and what's inside your budget too. A lot of people will be like, oh, you shouldn't live there. It's they're not the one purchasing the home and they're not the one that has to live there. So.
And the thing is we have to know about is taxes drive a lot of where people go and movement in terms of real estate. Unfortunately. So you have to remember that your mortgage payment is a combination of your principal, which is the loan, the size of the loan that they're giving you, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance. All that wrapped together makes your mortgage payment.
Yep.
So, and then the taxes are one of the biggest pieces of the pie of that payment. So if you buy a house in an area like Fairmont, per se, where the taxes is $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 a year, divide that by 12, and that's what piece of the pie is going into your mortgage payment. So guess how? So that shoots up your payment. So $5,000 a year divided by 12 is about 400 something, 425. that goes in your payment, plus your principal, plus your interest, plus your insurance. So that shoots up your payment. So this causes, people to, if they can't afford the taxes in there, to go to, a lower, like you were saying in Jersey, it can go up to like 12,000 a year. So divide that by 12, that's $1,000 within your payment that's added on because of the taxes, the property tax.
Yeah, man. That's like my cousin. She's in Fort Washington, man. It's like 14, 15,000, man. Divide that by 12. I
Divide
mean,
that by 12, and that's put in your payment plus your principal, interest,
yeah,
and insurance.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It's good. It's good to know, man, too, because like taxes, I'd say, are like the second biggest. Would you say second biggest portion of that monthly payment? The principal, like number one, then it's typically the taxes. Then obviously, like Rob said, you have your interest and your insurance as well that goes into that monthly payment. But
right. So
yeah,
that can really, the taxes, man, they could really deter, where you want to. I know, like clients, they want to go in this area, but they can't afford the taxes because the taxes make the payment so high. The lender's like, yeah, your payment's going to be over our limit of your income. So the taxes, that's something you got to think about when you're picking an area. What are the taxes in that area? Because that really is going to affect your payment.
Exactly. And I've seen it too, man, because I've looked at home prices in like certain areas, right? Playing around with like mortgage calculators and things like that. And you might see a house that's like $350,000, right? In like one area. And then you see it in another area. You're like, wow, this is a really nice house. But then like you look and you're like, holy shit, like this payment is a lot higher here. Then it shows you the breakdown. Those taxes, those property taxes in that area are a lot higher than the property taxes in the other area. So there's a lot of parameters that go into that monthly payment, and the monthly payment is what you're going to want to is what you're going to be paying outside of your utilities and stuff, obviously. But like, yeah, that factors in. Like, it's, and if it's above that cap, yeah, you're not gonna get approved.
Right. So that's why your income is so important when you're going for a mortgage. And this is why when I do work with married couples, sometimes they say, "Oh, I just want my husband on a loan." That's okay, but just know that you guys are limiting your budget and limiting where you can go, what area you can go in, because remember, they look at your income. And if this nowadays a lot of dual income, so the wife and the husband working, y'all put your incomes together, both gross incomes together. Now you can qualify for a lot more because the lender sees two incomes, and now they're doing like a cap on two incomes together, so it's a lot higher than a single income.
Yeah,
they're capping on.
Yeah, it's a lot different if like you're going from say as a man you're making 100,000 and your wife is making 50,000. It's like, what is a lot of difference that if you're putting up for us 100,000 versus 150,000 of what you can afford,
right.
What you recognize. And like Rob said, the good thing is too, your gross income is what gets factored in. So it's all before taxes. So like if you're making 100K a year gross and she's making 50K, like it's getting taken from that. It's not after taxes.
Right.
So that's a positive. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I guess like insurances and stuff and inspection. So like, a lot of people recommend title insurance. Title insurance when you go. Is that something that you would recommend too? Like it's big.
So yeah, title insurance is a must. I don't think you can get away without having title insurance. There is no buying a house. The mortgage company will not lend on a house without you title insurance.
Yeah, man. People need to know. So these are things that get factored into your cost. That's why I know it's like a rhetorical question, but
yeah. Title insurance is not an option. So you gotta have it. Most title companies require it because if they're gonna put their name on your title clearance, they require the title insurance. So that's something that comes with purchasing a house, and that's another thing that people kind of forget. Like when you're buying a house, it's not just your down payment; it's closing costs as well. And people are just like, what is all these fees? Yeah.
Inspections too. Inspections. Yeah. You want someone, unless you're a general contractor and go in and look at everything, and even people I know that are general contractors, they're still going to pay for an inspection for people to go through. That factors in too. You need to be able to hire a home inspector to inspect your home. God forbid there's some type of issue with the structural, like the foundation or something like that, and you're not aware of it. yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Always recommend my clients get an inspection, 100%. Even if you're not gonna negotiate any inspection, the seller's not gonna make any repairs. It's good to get it just for informational purposes. So when
Yeah,
you're walking in the house, all right, I have a leak here. All right, this outlet's not working here. Like you know what you're getting into. Better than going in a house not knowing anything about it. What's the condition? And just moving in and not knowing what you're getting into. So. Yeah, I
exactly.
always recommend inspections. I think I've skipped this inspection once with a client because they really wanted the house and they just to make their offer stronger. They wanted to skip inspections and they didn't care. So, but I told her to get an inspection after the fact, like just to see what's
Okay.
going on. I looked at the house myself. It looked good, but I'm not a home inspector. I have a good eye. I'm at seeing things, but at the same time. It's always better to get an expert inspector who inspects thousands of homes a year so he knows what to look for.
Facts. Absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to go in blind, man. You don't want that. Your home is such a big investment. You don't want to go in, not knowing. And yeah, there's a lot of things that factor in. I would say too, like obviously this goes deeper. This is more so personal preference too. But you have to also look too what works for you too. I was listening to a podcast on it. We were talking about like floor plans and stuff too. Like understand that like, certain houses there's things that you can do right that aren't gonna, that you can do yourself. Like God forbid, like the carpet ain't the color that you want, or the paint ain't the color. Those are things that are minor. But like, say it's something that's like a floor plan, and you're like, oh well, like I could change. Like yeah, certain things like you want to make sure that it works for you and it's functional. You know what I mean? I saw like one floor plan. It was like they had to pass through the bedroom to get to the other bedroom or something like that. It was like something crazy. It's just like you want to make sure that obviously it works for you. And then if you like obviously deeper things too, like resale value. If you get a good price, there was a podcast that they were talking about like a good price on like an ugly home. You have to from the outside, you got to understand that when you go to resell that home, there's a reason why that price was good. It might be tough for you to get the price point that you're asking for down the line. You go to sell that home. So,
right.
Things to look into. But yeah, a lot of it is the financial stuff, and the best thing you can do is, like I said, work with a realtor. There's a lot of tools you can use online, but your best bet is going to still be to work with somebody. They're going to have the information. They're going to be able to answer your questions for you. And like Rob said, if they're a good realtor, they're going to have your best interest. The majority of realtors, I would probably say, at least people I know who are realtors, they're good people. They put their clients' interests first. There's a lot of good realtors out there.
Yeah, for sure. That's something to definitely look for. Like when you're screening, screen your realtor to see like, hey, are they putting me first? Do they actually care, or they just care about the commission check? So
Right.
It's definitely something like there was a deal I had. Like for me, I care about my clients. I always put their interests first. Like always put them first. Like there was a deal that I had that I lowered my commission so my client can close. Like I lowered my commission on the seller side just so my client can close because he was a little bit short to close on the house. But just because I wanted him to win that house and get the house, that I actually lowered my commission. So I was putting his interest first. While realtors they're not gonna, cut the head off for you, but they put one that puts you first and is looking out for your best interest. That's the one you want to go to.
Yeah. And I would say in situations like that, how I see it is like, if you're willing to do that on like one deal, it pays the dividends later on because guess what?
Right.
The people you work with are going to see that. And then guess what? You have better chances of getting referrals from other people. Like that's how it is. My buddy Ray too, has said that too. They own like a little real estate business that they started. They have a few employees under them and stuff, but he just said he's like, my goal is to, always put my clients first. So like, when you actually take the time to listen to them, to understand them, to really get to know them on a personal level, understand what they want, what their budget looks like, and just really like actually allocate the time towards them. He's like, that money pays dividends because, you're going to get that back in referrals. Like it's, so, and people can tell. I think energy is big. People can tell when you're actually listening to them, when you're actually paying attention to their wants and needs, and you're going to bat for them. You're actually, there for them. People can feel that. People can tell. So
right.
You know.
Right. Like I remember working this deal, or working with the seller agent, and he's listing obviously for the seller, and I could tell this he didn't have the seller's best interests at all. One, the listing was crap. The photos were crap. I called him. He never picks up the phone. It's like, are you really fighting for your client to sell this house? No. Like, so like that's just something you definitely gotta look out for. Is this person fighting for me, representing my interests, and is putting me first in terms of this transaction?
Yeah, you ain't answering the phone or getting back to people. You're leaving money on the table for your client.
Yeah, like I'm calling him to send an offer, and he's not picking up the phone.
It's like, well, I'm just going. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm just gonna, that's on you. You know what I mean? Like you're losing out on money.
Right.
You know, it's crazy, man. Yeah, so it's like actually, I think that's one of the biggest things: allocating the time for your clients. You know what I mean? Making sure that you're there for them. You know, my buddy Ray said another thing too. There was a woman. There was something about like it was like something. I think that she was like somebody who was inquiring, like she wanted to work only with him, not someone else on his team. But it was like closing day for one of his clients, and he's like, and she was like, she got on. He's like, he told her like, hey, is there another like, can I meet you like tomorrow? And she was like, no, I want to meet you like right now. And he's like, there's no way I'm missing like the closing for my client. Like I've been there with them every step of the way. Like I'm gonna be there for my client. Like while they close, like they like celebrate. You know what I mean? Like it was like, you know. I don't know. Like he's just like, yo, running a business, it makes you have to make tough decisions sometimes. He's like, but you know, I have to think like this is a client I've already been working with. Like I have to put this client, you know what I mean? This client, I was there with them. This was a month, like months and months of process. He's like, there's no way I'm not going to be there with them on closing.
Right.
Like, so
like I remember,
yeah.
like, even me as an agent, I have an agent because I do investments as well. So when I'm selling my properties, I don't self-represent. I get an agent. And I had an agent for one of my deals, and this guy never even picked up the phone. I would call him about my listing, and he don't pick up the phone. Does that agent have your best interest if he's not picking up the phone? No. Have to let him go.
Yeah.
It's definitely something you want to look out for.
Yeah. You have to make tough decisions as a business owner too. And if you become, so we're obviously talking about first time home ownership, but like if you decide to get into the business aspect, like side of it, like running it as a business, I always say that business ownership is not for everybody, and that's okay. You can still make a lot of money not as a business owner, but being a business owner does take strategic decisions. You have to make tough decisions, and then it also requires some risk too. You know, and not everybody. A lot of people are risk adverse, and yeah, a lot of people. They say that a lot of people would actually. I forget. There's a quote on this, and it says people would actually. I forget what the actual words are, but it's something along the lines of people would actually. I have to get the exact words. It's like people fear like change so much they'll do anything they can to avoid it. So like. I don't have the exact words for it, just some quote on it, but it's like, yeah, people fear risk. Like they don't want to take those risks. So they'll do something else just to avoid having to take that risk of failure. That's like one of the biggest fears for most people, but you don't really ever learn unless you're failing. You know, you have to fail somewhere. And like I said, it doesn't make you a bad person if you're not a business owner either. You know, a lot of people create business because they want to carve out something like for themselves, for their family, and stuff like that. But you could still make a lot of money and build something for your family as a 9 to 5, you know, working for someone else too. I have a cousin who climbed the rankings in like finance, man. He's a multimillionaire. You know what I mean? He never owned a business, became a multimillionaire, put into work. It's definitely possible. But I think I even saw you had actually posted something. I think it was on your story the other day. It was like health is wealth is like, yo, a 9 to 5. It doesn't make, yo, you're okay with a 9 to 5. It was like a list of things, but I was like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. The social media brainwashing.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of things social media tries to brainwash people. They're thinking like we were saying, like a 9 to 5 is bad, or like, you know, being single is bad, some things like that. So they're just talking how, you know, don't pay attention to social media. It's not real. Step out, touch grass, and see what really matters. And
Exactly. Keep God at the center of your life too. I feel like that's where it all falls into place. You keep him at the center, you follow the biblical principles, your life's gonna improve. You know what I mean? I can attest to that. Whenever I've strayed away, that's when I fall more into like the worldly stuff. You know what I mean? Which is so easy to. You know what I mean? Especially today, like it's temptations everywhere.
Right.
It's literally everywhere. But yeah, when it comes to buying a home, make sure that you have an agent to push your best interest. I think we touched on a lot of the stuff that I honestly wanted to talk. I have a lot of stuff. We talked down payments. We talked closing costs. Talked the grant, inspections, DTI. Like making sure your credit score is good, making sure that you have the work history. It's a lot of the stuff that I'm also going to go through. Do you have like other things like that I didn't touch on that you want to like talk about at all?
I wrote some notes down. Let me see. Cool. There's some mistakes to avoid. Yeah, I'd say no big financial moves.
Yep.
While you're in the process, I would say also not overpaying for a house by falling too much in love with it emotionally. This is where your agent can balance you. You can, I love this house. I want to put an offer on it. And your agent's not the one actually buying the house, so they're not emotionally attached to it. So they can kind of give you some grounding, like, all right, this house is overpriced, or I think this is a good offer based on this price. Or if you go through inspections, you notice all this crap, your agent can all right, kind of ground you, like, hey, I don't think you should get this house. So that's definitely the benefit of an agent because they're not emotionally tied to the house.
Exactly.
And it keeps you grounded. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and that's pretty much one of the things to avoid. And like you said, we said earlier, underestimating closing costs. Remember, the money you got to bring to close is your down payment plus closing costs.
Yep.
And closing costs incorporates title fees, taxes. Yes, when you buy a house, you pay transfer tax, meaning when the seller transfers the title to you, there's a tax. The government always got to get their portion and everything. So there's a transfer tax associated with that. And then, this cost with the loan. The loan, they don't give you a loan for free. They give you some fees associated with them even giving you a loan. So that comes into play. So, yeah, all that. And then, like I said earlier, while the seller pays the majority of your agent fees, the agent still might have some small fees for the buyer as well. So all this comes into play for that. So you always got to factor that in. It's going to be your down payment plus your closing costs. And the beauty of it is when you're a first-time home buyer, the FHA loan, they only require 3.5% down. And the lender will cover 96.5% of the sale price.
So that's a huge benefit.
Yeah, that's people a lot of my clients when they're buying a house, like, all right, I gotta bring this down, all right, great. But they don't really fathom, like, all right, I only have to bring $10,000 to get this $300,000.
Right.
Really think about I had a client closing a house. He only brought $4,000 to the table because he had a grant and all that.
Yeah.
He spent $1,000 to get a $315,000 house.
Yeah. Yeah. And what exactly. And what you need for like a residential home versus an investment property is different. You know what I mean? Investment properties typically are conventional loans and it's different. But for a residential home, it's a little bit different. I know, like I said, some people do the house hack and stuff with like they live in one end, live in the other, and just have mail forwarded. So it's almost like they're still living there. So, there might be some workarounds for certain investment properties, but yeah, typically it's like a conventional loan, but a lot of people always think that 20%. It's good if you can put 20% down. I mean, that's great. But in this economy, it is tough for a lot of people. So it's great to have an FHA where you can do 3.5.
Right.
So it's a great option.
And conventional, you can also do, this conventional loans. You can do 5% or even 3%.
True.
So there's some ways around it, but FHA, most people when the first time I do FHA, but the beauty of FHA, you can buy up to a 4 unit property with
That's
FHA.
great.
So you can buy a triplex, you can buy a duplex, you can buy a quadplex with FHA. All right, and we only got to put 3.5% down, so that's awesome. But you do have to live in the property for up to at least a year. So
Okay.
that's one thing to keep note of.
Yep, I do know that. If like anybody I know who ever bought like a triplex or a duplex, yep, they'll live in one side of it. You know what I mean? At least for a year, and then like, but still, you're making money if you say you have a quadplex and you can rent out those other 3 units. You know what I mean? While you're living in one of them.
Mm.
It's you can still make money. So yeah. That's great, though. It's great to give people. I didn't even think of that, like things not to do, to avoid. You know what I mean, for first-time home buyers too. Who's better gonna know? Somebody who works in the industry, and you're an investor too, and you're a homeowner. So it's you learn from experience.
Yep.
And that's what it is. You want people not to make the same mistakes. That's what we're always at. We're always trying to learn from each other, so that's huge. We covered a lot of the stuff. I think, like I said, I think the basic thing is you obviously want to get your finances in order. You want to make sure that you want to be clear on your finances. That's what we said. That's step one. You want to be clear on your finances, understand what your budget is, understand what your DTI is, your debt to income, and just have all that information first. Understand what your credit score is, have your work stubs, make sure that you don't make any crazy big purchases in the process of when you're starting to look for a home. But then I would say work with a realtor, sit down with a realtor, assess your options. But when you go in kind of knowing what you want, but at the same time knowing your budget already, it makes the process easier, smoother.
Mm-hmm. Right. 100%. Yeah. Like I said, you assess where you're at. And if you want to be somewhere else and you want to get a house in a nicer neighborhood, make a plan to get to that point, whether you need more income or you need to get your score up or you need to build your savings. So it's one of the three. So just make a plan to get to that point. And like I said, like Steve said, work with a realtor. Even if you're not ready yet, I'm sure some realtors will work with you to get you ready, create a plan to get you ready. They can refer you to some credit improvement companies. They can, create a plan together with you for you to have the savings, for you to, get the income. They can't help you increase your income, but you gotta work on that yourself. But they can help you, create a plan.
Set up a plan. Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Yeah, exactly. And a realtor kind of sees it as like a future investment too, because if you're able to like pay attention to them, build a good working relationship with them, when it does come to time for them to purchase that home, they're probably going to reach out to that realtor and be like, hey, look, I'm ready to, there you go.
Right.
And like I said, referrals too. One last point I wanted to touch on, the part that you said too. That's also important too about what you can afford, right? Like the emotional attachment to the homes and stuff like that. That's another good reason to have a realtor, right? Because it does keep you grounded. But I would also say this is the thing too, especially if like you're younger, 20s, 30s, like you could purchase your first home, and that does not have to be the home that you have to be in forever. I think a lot of times, even when I was younger, I'll be looking at homes that are like, I know like this would be way too much of my budget to like afford. The thing is, you don't want to over leverage yourself. So even though there is a 45% cap, you also have to be realistic with your finances too.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean to go to that 45% cap if you have other, debts that you have going on, and and other things that you have to pay for. If you got kids, schooling, costs, whatever, like those things all add up.
Trips. You want to take trips. You want to have some extra money, discretionary money.
You want to put money into retirement. You want to put money into savings. You don't want to like over leverage yourself, because those are things a lot of people don't look at. Like you ideally want to be putting money into retirement each month. You want to be able to have, you don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. What do they call that? They call that house poor. You become house poor, where you can't do anything. Your quality of life just dips because you can't do anything else. So just make sure you're being realistic with yourself and understand that, like I say, if like you just got married, you got kids, your house just has to be comfortable for you, your wife, and if you got your kids, to be able to have enough space. But But at the end of the day, that doesn't have to be your forever home. Like you could, as you and your wife, or even if it's you're the only one making like this, bringing income into the house, whatever your situation is, as you make more money, as you grow, and as you like, you can afford more, and then you're also putting equity into your home as well. You know, so you could always down the line be able to move and be able to move into something bigger. So sometimes we just gotta be patient.
And that's what I love about home ownership. Like you said, it doesn't have to be your forever home. And eventually, you know, let's say you want to move to something bigger, you can sell the house. And over time, while you were paying, you know, making your mortgage payment, your debt was dropping and possibly the value of the house was going up. So that difference, as the debt drops and the value goes up, the difference is your equity.
Yep.
That money you'll get back when you sell the house. Exactly. That's the beauty of ownership. That's what I like about it. I think that's my favorite part about it, the equity portion. Like I said, renting has benefits for sure. Yep. But when you leave your apartment, your rental house or whatever, there's no money coming back. That's it. You buy, the landlord, you leave.
It's sunk cost.
Your stuff, that's it. Yeah. There's no money coming back. But when you have a house, obviously you can sell it. And all them years of payments come back to you via equity.
Yep.
So that's the beauty of it.
Obviously,
there's some cons. I'm not going to say it's all rainbows, but that to me, that's one of my favorite, factors of home ownership is that I'm paying it down. Yeah. But let's say I want to leave and move somewhere else and sell the house and I'm going to get a chunk of money back.
Yep. Exactly. So it's money you can put towards the next. Exactly. And that's the thing, guys. We've talked about like other episodes on this too, like buyers versus renting. Guys, if you're ever curious, you haven't seen any of those episodes, go back and check them out, for sure. Yeah, the other downside of renting, you can almost guarantee that your rent's going to go up. Each year it's going to go up versus the majority of homes, as long as you're not on a variable. I don't know like anybody that's on a variable mortgage plan. Like everybody I know this is fixed rate. You know what I mean? You have a fixed rate with your mortgage, your monthly payment is going to stay. So your taxes might go up. Your taxes, your taxes can change. I don't want to say yeah, exactly. So let me not say the monthly payment. Let me say your mortgage though. Your mortgage is going to be typically a fixed rate. Taxes obviously can't help you with that one. Taxes they go up every year typically. So. And as you said, like as the area you live in becomes more popular, people start migrating to that area. That shoots those property taxes up.
They only go up. That's why I don't know where prices and mortgage payments are gonna go years from now. That's why if you're gonna buy a house, get it now, because taxes only go up. They never go down.
They never go down. They never go down.
They only go up.
Yeah, your loan rates can go down. A lot of people want that. They want the rates to go down, but your taxes are never going to go down. This is only going to go up. If you ever look at tax assessments for a property, go back like 20, 30 years and just go see. It's just like it's a steady incline up. It ain't going down.
But it's funny because wages been stagnant for years, but taxes are continuing to rise. Property taxes. It's crazy to me. Like, I don't know, in a couple of years, 10 years down the line, where this economy is going? Our children's children. It's insane. So.
It is. It's crazy. I always say that too for the older generations. They don't always understand. In the baby boomer generations and stuff like that. It was different. A man could work a 9 to 5, 50. Like what is considered today a year job. Yeah. So like they could do that, and they could live a comfortable living. They could put money into retirement. They could easily put food on the table. They could take trips. They could live that way on a single income. And it's just like when you look at where wages have gone, like in terms of like growth, a lot of them like to point, well, this is what I made per hour back then. Okay, well, if we look at like what the hourly was, and now like say that same job position you were in, of what it looks like now, yeah, it's gone up. But if you look at like the price of like what a typical monthly payment is, like a mortgage payment, it's going like this. It's like it ain't just flat. Like it's like it doesn't equal. It doesn't equal out. It's a lot different. Unfortunately, things outside of our control, There's nothing that we can do to change that. Hope there's a balance at some point, but we can't rely on that. We don't even know where Social Security is going to be at when we retire, man. I don't even know if Social Security is even going to be a thing by the time.
I'm not relying on the government.
No, man, that's what I'm saying. Because you really
you control is yourself, So I wouldn't stress too much about what's happening outside of you. Like Steve said, you can focus on is you. You got God on your side, and just do the best you can.
Exactly. The Bible does talk about finances. It talks about financial stewardship. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people talk about money's the root of all evil. It's like, yeah, it is if it controls you. Yeah, for sure. But, you need money in this world. Financial stewardship is a good thing. You're smart with your money, and it's more sinful to fall into, like the temptations of debt and all that. And like I said, I don't ever judge people because everybody's situation is different. People fall in very tough times. And, but if you're someone who is falling into debt due to your own vices, due to your own lack of discipline, lack of self-control, that's a lot different. And only you can assess that. You know what I mean? Only you can assess that. But man, I think this was a good episode, man. We walked through a lot of stuff. Yeah, man, we did an investment episode. We did this. We did pros and cons. I love the real estate episodes because they're just so real, especially in this economy. Like, I know a lot of people have, like, even if like they don't watch live, have come to me and said they've learned a lot like from those episodes. So that's good, man, because I think a lot of people could use information on these types of topics.
Yeah, and real estate is one of my favorite topics. I think it's one of the best assets in the asset classes. Most millionaires own real estate. So it starts with your first home, own where you live. So I think I'm very passionate about real estate. I definitely think it's one of the best asset classes that we have. So some people like stocks, some people like, gold, but to me, real estate and businesses are two best asset classes. Stocks are good too. I'm not really a stock expert, but to me, real estate is it's something you can touch, an asset you can touch. It will always be in need. AI is not going to take over and ruin real estate. It may take over the process of buying real estate or assessing real estate, but people are always going to need a place to live. So, that's why I think real estate's great estate. You can get so many loans on real estate. You could pull money out with real estate. There's just so much you can do with it.
Yeah, there's so many different ways. And even in investing, there's hands-off ways to invest in real estate too. There's like REITs, I think, or whatever it is. It's like you can invest in like portions of real estate that you don't even have hands-on ownership. And there's just so many different ways to invest in real estate. So many different avenues. And like you said, it's an asset that's always going to be in need. You know what I mean? People are always going to need a roof over their head.
Yeah.
So,
I will not take that over. So.
No. Right. It's not like exactly. It's not like, and I would say that's the thing. It's not volatile. Like it's not like cryptocurrency. I don't have anything against crypto. Crypto can be a great avenue if like what you're doing with crypto. But it's very volatile too. You know what I mean? You can lose a lot. So, got to be careful with certain avenues. Stocks too. You can do a lot with stocks. I would just say do your research. I actually just took a financial course through my church this past spring. And the guy, he was someone who was just based off experience. He wrote a book. He had lost everything at one point. He got really greedy and stuff. And it just kind of shows you that you could lose a lot too in those types of scenarios. But if you know what you're doing and you're doing your due diligence, you can make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's risky. Like everything is risky.
Yeah, it requires some type of risk.
Yeah, it's risky for sure. I've lost money on a real estate deal before. It's definitely risky for sure, but it's definitely one of the better assets in my opinion.
Yep. It's exactly, and you can always. And that's why I always say talk to people who have experience in it. You can learn from them, and like any type of risk, it requires you doing the due diligence and the research up front. You know, it helps you mitigate your chances of something catastrophic happening if you do the due diligence up front.
And this is why you work with an expert, work with an agent, you know, to help you guide you along the process. You don't want to go into things ignorant. So it's definitely something you always work with an experienced agent.
Absolutely. Man, I think we went through everything. Do you have anything to add, I guess, before we wrap up? You went through all your notes?
Yeah, I think I went through everything.
Cool.
Yeah. Like I said, remember these 3 factors: credit score, income, savings. That's all. If it's one thing you need to pull out that thing, focus on your credit score, income, and savings. You get those 3 trifecta, you're ready to buy a house.
There you go. You get your finances under control, contact a realtor, you know, start planning. There you go. Man, well, I want to thank you, brother. I want to thank you. I know you're a busy man. Thank you for taking the time, as always, with these episodes, man. I always want to refer people to you. So, like, you know, reach out to Rob. You know, you have. I think I always put your handle in the promotions, but I guess what's the best way to contact you? Just through Instagram? Is that like the best?
Yeah. If you want, you can reach out through Instagram. I will put my tag in the chat or my email. I'll give you my.
I've seen you on Facebook too. You're on you Rob the Realtor on Facebook too? Your Facebook page.
Correct. Yeah.
Got you.
So Rob the Realtor on Facebook or Rob_LAV215 on Instagram.
Cool. So there you go. There you go. You can contact Rob that way. If you want me to introduce, reach out to me. I'll introduce you to Rob. But you can also just reach him directly as well. Rob's a great guy. He knows what he's doing. So, reach out to him. He's there to help you.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Well, again, brother, thank you as always, man. I love these episodes. I gained some knowledge from them too, man. So it's great to be able to work together. And now I'm using this.
Did you get your license yet, Steve? You got your license, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
So he was an agent. As well.
Yeah, man. I'm not affiliated yet with a brokerage yet. So once I get affiliated, you know what I mean? Yeah, I obviously have to work under a broker. So once I'm affiliated with a broker, we're making moves, man. I've always been interested in the real estate industry, so definitely a passion. So excited to be on the other side. It's like once I get affiliated, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, man, it was like I said, I learned a lot with these episodes too, man. It's great, man. We're teaching a lot of people, but yeah, contact Rob, guys. He's here for you guys, and next week's episode, guys, I'll keep you guys informed. I was supposed to have my brother Nate Evans, but we're shooting for 2 weeks now. He had a baby, so a lot going on, but keep you guys posted for the topic. I'm going to switch some topics and guests around, but look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a good night, my brother.
Have a good night. Thanks, Steve.
Take care, bro.
Good night, everyone.